Welcome, fellow adventurers, to the Avid Writer, where we delve into the captivating world of video games through the lens of storytelling. I am the Pumpkin Scribe, your guide on this epic journey through the realm of Dark Souls 3. As a devoted fan of the written word, I've always been fascinated by how narratives can be intricately woven into the fabric of interactive experiences. With Dark Souls 3, we will be venturing into a challenging and immersive universe that not only tests our skills as players, but also captivates us with its rich lore and deep storytelling. Throughout our current playthrough, we'll not only be slashing through hordes of enemies and conquering daunting bosses, but we'll also be analyzing the game's writing, character development, and narrative design. We'll uncover hidden stories, piece together intriguing lore, and unravel the enigmatic tales that lie within the darkness. Armed with my trusty notebook and a deep appreciation for the craft of storytelling, I'll be dissecting the game's dialogue, exploring the symbolism, and discussing the themes that make Dark Souls 3 such a captivating experience. We'll dive into the tragic tales of fallen heroes, discover the secrets hidden in forgotten corners, and ponder the philosophical questions that the game raises. But remember, this journey is not just mine alone. I want you, the viewers, to be an integral part of it as well. Share your thoughts, theories, and interpretations in the comments below, and together, let's embark on a quest to uncover the mysteries of Dark Souls 3. So, tighten your grip on that controller, prepare for relentless challenges, and let the ink of our words forever mark the tale of our adventure through Dark Souls 3. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Alright, and here we are in Dark Souls 3, the main loading screen. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Do a new game.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
I always say that cutscene is the best cutscene in most of the games. It's probably not my all-time favorite, but it is one of my favorites. I love the introduction of the bosses, though. The Farron Legion was definitely one of the greatest introductions that I've seen. Aldrich just leaves you wondering, what is that? How would you even fight something that at that scale? That goes with Yorm the Giant, of course. But yeah, what we're gonna do, we're going to go. I believe I have a preset on, so we're going to go with a preset there. We're going to give our name ThePumpkinScribe. There we are. Now I always, with the burial gift, this, in my opinion, going alongside with character creation, I feel is one of the most important decisions because it impacts what your character can do in the beginning, right? Of course, with the life ring, it raises your maximum HP at the very beginning. Your divine blessing restores HP and cures ailments. But I believe it's a one-time use. I may be wrong on that. I haven't really used it in any of my other playthroughs, so I may be wrong on that one. Same thing with the hidden blessing. Firebombs is always useful in Dark Souls games, especially in Dark Souls 1 with the Asylum Demon. That was very useful. We have our Fire Gem, which is a very good resource for, I believe, infusions. Soul for some souls, of course. The Rusted Gold Coin for item discovery. Cracked Red Eye Orb. We are playing offline. On top of that, we are playing with a mod that allows us to simply play through the game and explore its many secrets. This is a playthrough that will not be very intense. It won't be a lot of deaths because of this. I know that a lot of people in the Dark Souls community doesn't really like using mods or using ways to basically cheat out of death, but we're only doing this to explore the story and have one more kind of story-built experience, and not really including any deaths for the chosen here. So there's that. But finally, you have the Young White Branch. Can be used to blend into the environment, but only once. And I always go with the Life Ring, just because I love having my raised max HP at the very beginning. And now that we have our character, we can go through the classes. Now, there's many good classes in Dark Souls 3. Some of my personal favorites are, of course, the Knight, and I believe it was the Assassin that I played through multiple times with, and the Warrior as well. Although the Warrior's helm is kind of, it's a great design, but I always find it kind of funny looking. This is my own opinion. But from a combat perspective, it would work out very well, it looks like. So I think for our character, we're going to say they are a knight of poor renown, who collapsed roaming the land, sturdy owing to high vitality and stout armor. So we got to develop some backstory for our chosen here. We can say that maybe hailed from the lands of Mira, perhaps. So maybe going after the Mira armor set will be a very good thing for us to do. And of course, like the knight says, an obscure knight of poor renown who collapsed roaming the land, and we shall wake up when we finalize our creation and be on our way with the story. waking up from our grave. Also, the knight armor set just looks amazing. I mean, it's quite beautiful. I always love the Dark Souls 3 aesthetic. It's very... The intro sequence is, in my opinion, much better than... The intro area is much better than some of them, just because of how it kind of works. So like I said, this is going to be a non-vanilla playthrough. So if you come for a non-vanilla playthrough, just letting you know this is not what we're doing. As you can see, we're just kind of cutting down the enemies to get our Ashen Estus Flask over here. And of course, before we begin, we will be reading some info on our items that we have. The journey of an undead is always traced to the bonfires, and no journey of importance has been made without an Estus Flask. So of course, the Estus Flask is raising our HP. Quite befitting of an unkindled and ashen Estus Flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. Very interesting lore there, because it's used to restore FP. If taken literally, then we cool the fires, and are able to use the cooled fires to heal our FP. It's very interesting on that lore there. Of course, we have the Dark Sign, which is used to return us to the last bonfire rested at. And going off of some Dark Souls 1 parodies here, carriers of the Dark Sign are reborn after death and eventually lose their minds, turning hollow, and so it is that they are driven from their homelands. Of course, we have the Black Separation Crystal, which we'll never probably use, and the Way of White Circlet, which I don't believe we will use much of either. Because hopefully we don't get any unjust deeds. But if we do, then there'll be a shrine later on that we can get that'll help us with that. Now I am going to go ahead and fight the Crystal Lizard. I'm planning on doing a full-on little guide of this, almost. Not really a guide, more of a full-on playthrough to get the full story and everything. Experience everything is what we hope to do. So I am going to be making a cut to our right. See our little crystal lizard over there. Exactly what that's called. I believe it's the riposte. It's definitely not okay. As you can see, we got hit by the Crystal Lizard, didn't take that much damage, so it is a modded playthrough all the way through. Typically the Crystal Lizard is much harder than that. As in, it normally hits harder. So, if this is what you find for a walkthrough of the game, then just keep in mind that the enemies here will be much tougher than what they are as being shown on the screen. So, in this video, I'm hoping one of them drops an item that we can read up on a little bit more about them in this area. But I believe that's actually most of them in this little church area. So I believe this to be an old cathedral or a mausoleum of sorts, with many of the graves being around here, of course. I do believe this to be some sort of... It is definitely a cemetery, but I believe this might have been an abandoned mausoleum that fell over, of course, on the edges of the castle up there above us. So... Feel free to comment your theories on what area we may be exploring here as we get the first bonfire. Cemetery of Ash is our first bonfire. I don't believe there's anything down that way. See? A bit harder enemies outside the cemetery. Hey, buddy. And we'll go down here. Where these guys are. So, the first boss of the game will be coming up. Before we get there, there is an item that I always like to try to get. It's very fun to try to get. As you can see, if you miss it, you take a little bit of damage from down there. But we'll be trying to get it. I'll try about 2 more times, and if we don't get it, then that's fine. But like I said, I am trying to get a full sort of run through here. A little bit more to the left, I should do. Oh, almost made it. I forget exactly what item that is, but we won't bother with it right now. I always forget about this, but I have my HUD on auto. I would like that on, so we can see what our health is. Like I said, we are playing a little bit modded, so this will, of course, be much easier, this boss fight. There is a second phase to the boss, and so the boss will start immediately once the sword is drawn. Keep in mind that this boss is much harder than what will be shown, as for all bosses and enemies in this playthrough. So because the boss is immediately active once you draw the sword, actually begin doing this animation. And do some good damage. Here's phase 2. We got the coiled sword, and we've got the second bonfire here. That was champion. And let's go ahead and read that coiled sword fragment that we got. Thrust in the shrine bonfire to activate the bonfire warping. Of course, we got Titanite scales, which is just a very fun resource. Our long sword inflicts reliable standard damage as well as high thrust damage, of course. Very well balanced, widely used standard straight sword. Of course, we have our Knight Shield. The orthodox shield of the kind commonly used by low-ranking knights, so our PumpkinScribe here was probably a low-ranking knight in its day. This iron helm may be on the heftier side compared to others of its ilk, but as such offers great physical absorption in exchange for its imposing weight. Of course, we have the knight armor set in its entirety, and the life ring and all that. So overall, Gunder, I forget the exact story of Champion Gunder. Will be definitely intrigued as to what he was guarding, which is, of course, our main hub area. And we get an item. And before we actually go into our hub area, I am going to go grab the east-west shield and fight the master. So here's our east-west shield right here. Get rid of these guys. We don't want to fight with the master over here. Now the master is a very challenging NPC to start off with. At the beginning, he does bleed build-up and wield his force, which is katana. As you can see, I'm just getting absolutely slaughtered and dealing barely any damage to the master. It is nice if the shield can actually block, which, of course, for some reason, be careful with this boss if you actually not even a boss. Oh, we got the parry on. Try not to get blood loss again. There we go. So we got the Master's attire, the Master's gloves, and the Ucha katana, as well as some souls. Go ahead and read those real quick. A unique katana characterized by the fine craftsmanship of an eastern land where it was forged. This finely sharpened blade cuts flesh like butter and causes bleeding, but breaks easily as a result. And then of course we got our east-west shield, a wooden shield decorated with the ancient symbol of the two-headed eagle, close to a small shield in size, has the ability of parry. Now of course we have our Master's attire. So, a terribly worn shirt, men are fond of weaving tales to explain the raggedness of their garb. My sixth sense warned me of danger, and I danced between flurries of blades, unscathed, but alas, my clothes went to tatters. So it looks like the Master either went through a lot or just made up why he's wearing such ragged attire and said, I'm the Master at combat because I wield my blade, thus my rags are rags. So very funny little bit of lore there. Of course, you get an ember now. I believe there is something along this way. Yes, there it is. A homeward bone. And then down here, we get an ember. And we get a little doggo. Couldn't be a Dark Souls game without dogs. There'll be plenty more of them. Now ready to go into Firelink Shrine, our main hub area. Similar to Dark Souls 1, there is a lot of similarities must first embed the coiled sword to unlock our third bonfire. And our main hub bonfire as well.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I am a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side. Very well. Then touch the darkness within me. Take nourishment from these sovereignless souls.
We'll go ahead and level up a few times. How many levels can we get? We can get a total of, looks like 17. No, 7. 17, what am I thinking? Let's go ahead and get our luck up a few, and then pump the rest into vigor. We'll do a balance of vigor and endurance, just to get them both up there. We'll do one in endurance, and then put one more in, let's build one up in strength, so we can get our weapon up a little bit higher on that.
Farewell, Ashen One. May the flames guide thee.
Alright. Next is our handmaiden.
A pleasure to make thine acquaintance, Ashen One. I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me. As is thy wont, no?
Now, the handmaidens, there were a lot of them. I think a total of 3 or 4 back in Dark Souls 2. Same design, and I just noticed this the other day, but the feet of the handmaiden don't actually touch the ground. So I just thought that was a little funny detail there. But she has a lot of nice items for sale. I am going to go ahead and get the scimitar, and we'll work our way up to it, because it requires 13 in dexterity, so we're just a little bit away from that. And I'll go ahead and also get 1 homeward bone with that.
Ashen One, be sure to bring more souls.
And of course, we got everyone's favorite from Dark Souls 1, Andre the Blacksmith. Sometimes the audio cuts out.
Well, a newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith, such is my purpose.
So here we can reinforce, infuse, repair, allot our Estus, and even reinforce our Estus flasks.
Pretty be careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.
Soon we'll fill up Firelink Shrine with a bunch of interesting NPCs. It is actually rather large. This is a tunnel under here, right around, right here, that we can kind of walk under and go to the other side. There'll be enough people to get sorceries, miracles, pyromancies, and a bunch of other cool things. For this playthrough, we are, I believe, going to stick with our knight build and just kind of go with strength and dexterity to start off with.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots. Don't you think?
Of course, just as in most Dark Souls games, you have your depressing NPC, but this NPC is a bit different than just regular depressing NPCs. He actually does make good points on why in the heck we're doing this. I mean, the Lords of Cinder have all this magnificent power and all this kind of legendary status to them. It is a wonder why we even deserve, like, who are we, this piece of ash, to go and fight these lords and proclaim them to their thrones? But we'll finish talking with them.
What a sick joke. Asking us to seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. We're talking true legends, those who would link the fire.
He just kind of repeats himself there. So this is Firelink Shrine. We will begin in the new Undead Burg, as it would be. I believe this is called the Undead Settlement in Dark Souls 3 now. But first, the High Wall of Lothric, near the Undead Settlement. So we'll be traveling up and then have to make our way back down into the Undead Settlement, and then get all the way down to the base area to go to another castle. And of course, we're just kind of hunting the Lords of Cinder at this point. That's our main purpose in Dark Souls 3, is to hunt down all the Lords of Cinder, bring them back to the thrones, and then end the game. But there's much more to the tale than that, and we'll discuss it as the story progresses, as we progress in the game. But for now, we will kind of get to the second bonfire, I'm hoping, of this area, and then end the episode off here. So let's do that real quick. Here's our first bonfire. Now, there's a lot to explore in this first area, so I'm going to be taking the right path first, and then go down the left path. Take out this guy, just kind of hide it. Of course, we got more dogs. More doggos. And there is our halberd guy. So we'll just wait a little bit. Here we go. There we are. There's halberd guy down. Now up here, there's going to be what I call a challenge for the very beginning. This is a abyss creature, or a creature that's been infected by the abyss. The lore is a little shaky on that, but basically, this guy, I think right here, is going to start transforming, just like Gundigger did. You could actually kind of see some of the abyss on its back. And if you let it actually get to that form, to that state of form, it'll actually be much harder to kill, have a bunch of more attacks, but it will drop an ember, and I think more souls as well, maybe something else, but it does drop a bit more stuff if you take on the challenge. So it is definitely, can be considered worth the challenge. And I want to try to get a dog. can't access this gate yet, but we will be able to later on as we progress. And now we will take the left path. Over here on the right path, we got our longbow. That was the purpose of going over there. Now, you don't have to kill these creatures, but I always like to because free souls always benefit. Dead dragon, poor dead dragon over here. Just, you know, just chilling. Whatever. Okay. Missed. Always hate it when two shield guys kind of team up on each other. Get out, get out. We got our first Titanite shard. Now, even though we are playing with mods in this playthrough, we can still die, of course. So, I am not just going in recklessly. I am trying my, not my hardest. I could try a lot harder. It's just a lot simpler to play with this than to play without it. So that's what I'm doing. We'll have this dragon guy come down here. And lead them in one by one. And it looks like most of them died outside, which is a good thing. Don't think we can unlock that door just quite yet, but we do have our first mimic right here. So if you're a fan of Dark Souls 1's mimics, which I don't know if anybody actually is, you'll be happy to know that there are plenty of mimics in Dark Souls 3. Now we got the Deep Battle Axe. Easily wielded axe, crafted for battle and inflicting standard damage. Its weight can be used to inflict high damage, but must be used carefully as it leaves its wielder open to retaliation. Because I believe it's dealing with our longsword. Keep our longsword, but I believe, yep, still dealing more with our blocking more with our light shield, so we'll keep our light shield on for now. And we're back here. Now there is that knight, but first we're going to take out the side before we even dare challenge that knight. In fact, if you can just walk that direction, the good sir will pick up this knight. I didn't even know he actually went down all that way. Now I'll start coming back up. So we'll head through here. Lure this guy. Daggers this way. get some throwing knives, walk out on the plank here, grab some fire bombs, and get our second bonfire. And why not? We still have some time. Let's go and take out that knight that we saw. It'll be satisfying. Ah, 2 damage. Nice. I love the Lothric Knight armor set, though. It is a very nice armor set. I actually say, we're going to go back to Firelink Shrine, level up a little bit, and then that'll be the end of the episode there. I believe we have enough to level up a bit more. We'll get our point in strength so we can potentially use our scimitar. I believe, not strength, dexterity. Alright, hello, my lady.
Welcome home, Ashen One. Speak thine heart's desire. Very well, then take nourishment from...
And we'll level up our dexterity to 13.
Farewell, Ash, may the flame.
Now, I do believe... Oh, it requires 16. It was... Oh, that's Uchick Katana. Scimitar, perfect. It does deal less, but it is B ranking in dexterity, whereas it's D ranking in both. Actually, is it just generally worse to wield our scimitar? It looks like it's just generally worse to wield our scimitar, so we may actually just stick with our longsword currently. So scimitar might have been a wasteful purchase, but we may use it eventually.
Just wasn't it?
Let's go ahead. We need 2 for that one. So once we get our second Titanite shard, we'll level up our longsword to +1. But the good news is that we got our point in dexterity for other weapons that require both strength and dexterity, so we're going to get that up there. But like I said, this will wrap up the first episode of the playthrough. We'll do a few episodes more, just kind of exploring the area that we were in at the second bonfire, unlocking a shortcut, and then progressing onward to potentially fight a boss, all in the next episode. So with that, take care, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thanks.